Great. Welcome to my channel, The Consistent Coder. So the problem we are going to solve today is the house robber. So the problem goes, you are a professional robber planning to rob houses along a street. Each house has a certain amount of money stashed in it, and the only constraint stopping you from robbing each of them is that adjacent houses have security systems connected, and it will automatically contact the police if two adjacent houses were broken in on the same night. So basically there are some houses in a street, and then each of the houses have some money stashed in them, and we are planning to rob them, but the only constraint is that we cannot rob the houses that are adjacent to each other because there is a security system which will connect two houses which are adjacent to each other. So it will alert the police if we try to rob the houses which are adjacent to each other. So we cannot do that. So what do we need to do? Given an integer array nums representing the amount of money of each and every house we have, and we have to return the maximum amount of money we can drop tonight without alerting the police. So we were given the houses and the each and every house, whatever the money each house has, we were given that, and we have to return how much amount of money we can rob, the maximum amount, without alerting the police. So we have to make sure that we rob the houses that are not adjacent to each other, and at the same time we maximize the amount of money we can rob. So that's the problem. So let's look at the example one. So here we have the houses where the house one has amount 1, and then 2, and then 3, and then 4. So if we rob the house 1, then we cannot obviously rob the house 2 because they are adjacent to each other. So if I rob the house 1, I have to rob house 3 as well because they are not adjacent to each other, right? So the amount of money I can get is 1 plus 3, which is 4. Or I can rob the house 1 and then house 4 because they are also not adjacent to each other, right? I can rob them. So the amount of money that I'll get there is 2. And I can also rob house number 2 and then house number 4. So here I'll get 3. So the maximum amount I'm getting is 4, which is when I'm robbing the house number 1 and the house number 3, correct? In this case, I'm getting the sum 4, which is why the output is 4. Similarly, we'll see here what is the maximum amount of money we can rob. So here in the example 2, here it says we can rob the house number 1 where the money is 2, and then we can rob the house number 9, house with amount 9, and then finally the house with amount 1. So 2, 9, and then 1. So if we try to rob any other combination, let's say suppose house number 2 which has the amount 7, and then house number 4 which has the amount 3. In this case we will be able to rob only these two houses because we cannot rob the adjacent houses to 7, which is 2 and 9, and for 3, 9 and 1. So we cannot rob those houses, right? So the only two houses that I can rob in this case is 7 and 3 houses. I mean the amount, the houses with amount 7 and 3. So in that case the amount will be 10, but we already have a maximum sum which is 12, right? So yeah, so we'll return 12. So that's the problem. Let's see how can we actually solve this problem. Let's say we have only one house. Let's say this is the only house and the house amount is 3, right? So in this case we are not alerting any house because there is no adjacent house. So I can simply rob that one house and then return that amount, correct? But what if there are like two houses? So in this case, what do I need to do? I just need to know which house has the maximum amount, right? Because if I rob this house, let's say the first one, I cannot rob the first one. I mean the second one. If I rob the house number 1, I cannot rob the house number 2 because they are adjacent to each other. But if I rob house number 2, I cannot rob house number 1. So I can only rob one house when there are two houses, correct? So if I want to get the maximum amount, what do I need to do? I just need to rob the house with the maximum amount. So if there are two houses, what do I need to do? I just need to rob this house, right? House number 2 with the amount 5, because in this case I'll get the maximum amount 5. Suppose I have more than two houses, like in this example 4 houses. How will I decide which houses to rob? So for example here I can rob house number 1 and house number 3, which will give me amount of 4. Or I can rob house number 2 and house number 4, which will give me an amount of 3. Or I can rob house number 1 and house number 4, which will give me an amount of 2, correct? So the maximum is 1 plus 3, which is 4. So I'll return 4. But if there are more houses, the number of possibilities will increase, right? Say for example, if there are more houses to the right side of it, so I'll be robbing these houses where I'm neglecting this house since I robbed this house. So there will be possibilities like this which will go on forever. So if we go from forward to last, it is a little bit difficult to come up with the logic. So what I'll do is I'll try to come from the back. Let's assume I know what is the maximum amount of money that I can gain if I had already robbed the house number 1. Let's assume it to be A. and then I know the maximum amount of money that I can gain if I robbed until house number 2. Let's say it's B and let's say it's C. So now I'm trying to figure out what is the maximum amount of money that I can gain if I'm at this house. So now I'm deciding, I already have this much amounts I could gain, and then I'm trying to figure out what is the maximum amount of money that I can get at this point. So if I'm at this house, what options do I have? I can either rob this house or I can not rob this house. Let's say I rob this house. Okay, if I rob this house, obviously I'll have the money 1 with me. That is for sure. And if I rob this house, the house number 4, can I rob house number 3? No, because it is adjacent to each other. But if I rob house number 2, yeah, I can actually rob house number 2. But what is the maximum amount of money that I can get if I robbed until house number 2? B. So it will be B. So this is the case where I'm robbing the house number 4. But there is another possibility, right? I can choose to not rob house number 4 because I'm trying to explore different possibilities in order to get the maximum amount of money. If I decided to not rob the house number 4, what is the amount of money that I will have? I will have the same amount of money that I had until the previous house, correct? Why? Because in this house, I'm not robbing anything, so I get the amount 0. But I could have robbed the house number 3, right? Because they are not adjacent to each other. So whatever is the maximum amount of money that I could get until house number 3 is the amount of money that I will get house number 4 as well, because I'm not robbing house number 4. So this is the amount possibilities that I'll have. So which one should I take? I'll take the maximum of it because I'm trying to maximize the amount of money that I'm trying to rob from these houses. And now with this logic, we'll move backward. So now for C, what is the amount of money that I could gain? Here also we'll have 2 possibilities for house number 3. I choose to rob the house number 3. In this case, it will be 3 plus A. Correct? Because I cannot rob the house number 2. So the maximum amount of money that I could get will be maximum of either I rob this house, which in case 3, and then I'll add A because this will be the case because I cannot rob the house number 2, or I choose to not rob house number 3. In this case, this house has nothing to offer, and the maximum amount of money that I will have until the house number 3 will be the maximum amount of amount I had until the house number 2, correct? And now we're at this point. Now we're trying to figure out what is B. Now B has also, now we talked about what will be the case if there are like only 2 houses. I'll try to pick the one which has the maximum. In this case, it will be maximum of 1, 2, which will be 2, correct? And now if there is only one house, I can, rob only that house. The amount I will get is, 1. There is no other possibility. So B will be what? 2. And C will be what? 3 plus A, which is 4. And then B is what? 2. So I'll have this, and then 1 plus B. B is what? 2. So 1 plus B is 3. And then C is what? C is 4. Okay. So the maximum amount of money I can have if I robbed until the house number 1 is 1. If I robbed until house number 2, maximum amount of money that I'll have is 2. If I robbed until 3 houses, the maximum amount of money that I could gain is 4. If I robbed until 4 houses, the maximum amount of money that I could gain is 4. So I just need to return this value because we wanted to, see what is the maximum amount of money that I will have if I had robbed until the last house. So that's the logic. That's it. So we'll try to code it up now. So what we will do is we'll initialize an array, let's say DP, and then we'll initially put each and every element to be 0 because we don't know what the values are, right? So we'll just fill it up with zeros. And then for the first house, what will be the value? It will be the whatever the amount of money that I can get, right? Because there is no other option. If there is one house, I'm just robbing it, that's all. But for the first house, what will be the case? It will be the maximum of, if there are 2 houses, so DP, since these are like 0 indexed, DP at 1 actually indicates the house number 2. So the maximum amount of money that I could gain if I'm at the house number 2 is, so it's either the maximum of the first house amount or the maximum of the second house amount, correct? And for the rest of the cases, what will we have? For I equal to 2 to I less than nums.length. So what will be the case? DP at I will be, so I'm either robbing the current house. In this case, I'll need to add the amount of money that I'll be gaining from the current house, which is num set I, and I cannot drop the house number I minus 1, right, because it will be adjacent to I. Now what I'll do is I'll add it up to the amount that I could gain to the previous of the previous house, which is I minus 1's previous one, which is I minus 2. So the maximum amount of money that I could gain is if I decided to rob my current house, it will be num set I plus dp at I minus 2, or it could be I minus 1. Why? This is because if suppose I decide not to rob this house, so in this case the current house has nothing to offer, and the maximum amount of money that I will have until this point will be same as the maximum amount of money that I had until the previous house, right? So dp at I is basically representing what is the maximum amount of money that I can have until the ith house. That is what dp at I is representing. So it will be math.maximum of these two houses, and I don't need to actually do it 0 plus 1, right? So I'll simply return what is the maximum amount of money that I had in the last house, right? I mean, what is the maximum amount of money that I can have when I rob the last house. That's all. So we'll just try to check if it's working for all the cases. Yeah, I'll submit it. Yeah, as you can see, it's working pretty efficient as well. So hope you liked the video. If you did, please do give a like. I'll be uploading videos related to blind 75 mainly. So if you like my content, please do consider subscribing. And that's it for the video, guys. Thank you.